As an undergraduate, he once thought he understood Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. As a medical resident, he realized the poem was about a physician overcome with sleep lust. Fade far away, dissolve and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known. The weariness, the fever, and the fret, here where men sit and hear each other groan. Where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. Where but to think is to be full of sorrow, and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pineth them beyond tomorrow. Werner punched a button on the console and nervously clicked the clicker of a drug company fountain pen in and out a dozen times, while Bedouin's cardiac monitor unspooled strips of EKG readings. He pored over the results, fighting brain fatigue and caffeine-induced intestinal distress. An audio monitor picked up some interference and piped a tinny rendition of a beer commercial over the hisses, clicks, and beeps of the life support systems. A nurse approached Werner bearing a sheet of paper, which she wanted to give to him without disturbing him. "I have Bedouin's blood gases, Dr. Ernst," she said shyly. As a rule, Werner acknowledged only older, veteran nurses who knew their medicine inside and out, or younger, nubile ones who made his penis hard. The rest were nondescript wombats, like the creature at his elbow. Feeling sorry for them only distracted him from his work. "Shall I call respiratory therapy and ask them to increase the oxygen?" she asked, blushing in 4 or 5 shades of pink. Werner used to squander countless hours every work week just being nice and friendly to the nurses and hospital staff. Before long he realized that, while he was busy being nice and friendly, patients were busy dying all around him. More important, while he was busy being nice and friendly, other young residents were busy poring over journal articles and searching for clues in volumes of the patient's charts from previous admissions. Being nice and friendly to people who were not sick kept Werner from getting the upper hand on a particularly troublesome case of Legionnaire's disease. Some third-year medical student got there ahead of him. Another time, being nice and friendly to people who were not sick resulted in a radiology resident nailing down a diagnosis of Goodpasture syndrome, after Werner had told the entire medical hierarchy during grand rounds that it was idiopathic pulmonary hemosiderosis. Early in his residency, Werner saw that to be a supernova. To ride the cutting edge in a place like the University Medical Center, an internal medicine resident had to conserve every possible increment of time and energy for the study and conquest of disease. Lower-order tasks, such as being nice and friendly, had to be delegated to lower-order personnel. If a resident wanted a future at the medical center, he judiciously had to avoid getting into a conversation with someone like the baggage at his elbow, who could stand in front of a blue patient, hand you lab results confirming your suspicion that every cell in the patient's body was screaming for oxygen, and ask you if you wanted her to call a respiratory therapist to turn up the oxygen. "No," Werner said, without looking at her. "Let's not turn up the oxygen. Let's call down to housekeeping and requisition a big trash bag." "A trash bag?" Marie something whispered hoarsely, her face now burnished crimson by engorged capillaries. "Yeah," Werner said, "so we can wrap it around Bedouin's head and see how long it takes for those funny little squiggles on his cardiac monitor to stop." Werner drained half the cold coffee from the styrofoam cup and tried to stomach the unbearable realization that he would not even be able to steal a nap before his day started over 3 hours from now at 6:30 a.m. He leaned over his paperwork and closed his eyes, an experience more terrifying than falling asleep at the wheel because, when his eyes closed, his subconscious burst at the seams, a circus of dream imagery exploding on the back of his eyelids, replaying the day's terrors and emergencies back so vividly that he jolted upright and scanned the monitors to see if he had veered off the road and killed somebody in the ICU. What if the nightmares that were crackling like fireworks on the back of his eyelids started leaping over into his waking moments?